Well, after 102 days, we should be expecting this, not this. These are the sights of Melbourne, what we should have been sitting down to watch the 2020 Australian Grand Prix. Looks like a horror movie, and I Am Legend in real life. It's absolutely crazy. So welcome back to F1 24/7 News, the 7th edition. Well, there's no Formula 1, so got to fill in the time somewhere. And of course we start with the C word that everyone in the world knows by now, the coronavirus. Every single sport almost in the world has been cancelled because of this. It's a pandemic we've never ever seen before, ever. Sports from all around the world, including the NBA and NHL, have been cancelled. Many football leagues, including Series A in Italy and of course our very own Premier League, has been cancelled. Formula 1 was almost inevitable to follow suit with all the other sports and cancel the Australian Grand Prix and possibly a few more races in the season. The Australian Grand Prix was cancelled just hours before FP1 was going to happen in the early morning of Australia. The news came out, of course, following other sports, but mainly because a McLaren F1 team personnel member had tested positive for COVID-19, and of course, in this situation, McLaren had withdrew from the race. McLaren withdrawing from the race meant that the Formula 1 race couldn't be classified as a championship event in Australia. So really, since that, and when McLaren, Lando and Carlos decided not to race that weekend, that was really the nail in the coffin that decided that the race was not going to go ahead. But of course, Chase Carey and the FIA, along with the FOM and everyone behind the scenes at the Australian Grand Prix, wanted the race to go ahead. The decision was made, and of course, safety and public health came first. Even though a lot of the fans were, of course, disappointed, queuing outside the gates for hours on end, the best decision was the right decision, and of course, the safest decision for everyone involved. Now, the Bahrain Grand Prix was going to be run behind closed doors, of course, this coming weekend in Sakhir. But of course, the personnel and the teams would still be at the track, which of course would still make it dangerous. We had the new Vietnam Grand Prix, and of course, the Chinese Grand Prix was already cancelled. They all joined a collective group and of course became cancelled. The Bahrain Grand Prix, the Vietnam Grand Prix and of course the Chinese Grand Prix all cancelled, which means that Formula 1 will not be on any screens until all 4 rounds are passed, and we are looking at a start in May. Now, it's not actually confirmed what round we're actually going to start the Formula 1 season in. Zandvoort is the first race in Europe and the first round in May, so Formula 1 could see the Zandvoort Grand Prix, the Dutch Grand Prix, as the opening round, round 1 of the 2020 season. Now, this will be great to see, of course, as Zandvoort is packed. A lot of Max fans and just sold out everywhere. Every grandstand is going to be packed. The Dutch fans are great, supporting sports all around the world. And it will be an amazing atmosphere. Just to have Formula 1 return to Zandvoort as the opening round would be amazing. But of course, the choice isn't in terms of fans. It's of course safety and what other sports do around the world. So now there's a bit of a debate internally about what round we're going to be returning at. Will it be the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort? Will it be the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona? Could it be the Monaco Grand Prix in Monte Carlo? Or could it be Baku, to find out when they can return back to competition in sport? Of course, we're all keeping up to date of when the news will be. Formula 1 will of course have a 2020 season. We will see some hardcore racing and a champion at the end of the year. Who that will be and when Formula 1 will start, nobody knows. But we're keeping up to date with all the news, and hopefully we will get back to racing as soon as possible. As there is no Formula 1, a lot of the teams will be working around the clock at the factories to work on their cars, really digest what they learned in winter break and what they've seen in Melbourne, and hopefully have a great car, even better than what was supposed to be in Melbourne, to start the season with. So of course, Red Bull will be going back to Milton Keynes and Mercedes Brackley. But Ferrari, the team that are based in Italy, might have a big problem on their hands. Italy have had a big outbreak of the COVID-19. And Ferrari's base in northern Italy, in Maranello, of course a very iconic place, have suspended all activity, both Formula 1 and in the road car industry, at their factories in Maranello. This is done to keep every employee safe at the factory. Now, of course, as I've just said there, safety comes first. To have nobody at the factory is a benefit for everyone. Of course, it keeps everyone safe. But in terms of Formula One, this could be quite detrimental to Ferrari, as no one will be able to work on the car until Formula One returns again, and of course, everything's made safe at Maranello. This is absolutely terrible news to hear about one of the oldest and most iconic teams in Formula One. Of course, going for the Constructor and Drivers' World Championship in 2020, it's heartbreaking news to find out that they might not be able to work on the car before the start of the season. But of course, in terms of the employees, we hope that everyone stays safe over in Maranello, and we hope that every single person at Ferrari, and indeed in Italy at this time, stays safe and well, and we hope this situation is resolved very soon. So moving away from races that are cancelled to races that might be coming back, and let's start with a race in the US. Now, of course, there's been a lot of talks about tracks such as Miami and New Jersey that might be new ones coming onto the circuit. But now we might be returning to one that we've already been to before. A returning fan favourite, dividing opinions, and of course hosted the 2005 controversial Tiregate. And that, of course, is the US Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Speedway, the host of the Indianapolis 500 Speed Ring. Last time it was won by L.Hamilton in 2007, and that was the last edition we were at this event. Of course, as I said, we had the 2005 Tiregate, so it had some controversial races in the past. A very fast race and, of course, a beloved race in the US. Since 2012, we've had a brand new circuit in Austin, Texas, the Circuit of the Americas, which has become the home of United States Formula One. But now we might be expanding to a second race in the US. Of course, something that's been talked about for a long time, but something that has failed to come onto the calendar. Roger Penske, who has had involvement with Formula One before and of course now owns an IndyCar team, has recently purchased the Indianapolis Speedway and wants to bring Formula One back to the race. In a statement, he said, "My son Greg has met with Chase Carey and had some primary discussions over the past few weeks." Penske told Racer, the US publication, "It was time to look at a F1 race. I don't know the economics make sense, but we should be looking at doing it before 2022. It would be good to see Formula One at the Indianapolis Speedway." The really high intensity, high speeds made it really entertaining and of course bridges the gap to the American Formula One fans who have heard of Formula One but might be more fans of IndyCar. Of course, Penske and even McLaren, a Formula One team, have IndyCar team, and of course there is a lot of links between American racing and European racing. Of course, Haas and NASCAR with IndyCar roots came from those disciplines into Formula One. There is a good possibility we're returning to the US for a second race. And okay, maybe Miami wasn't the best decision. But maybe this one, Indianapolis, of course a speed ring and one of the most successful tracks in the US, could be the right way forward for Formula One. Returning there over a decade would be strong. It would be great to see some guys like Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen tackle the track just like Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton did back in the day. Ending the show on some positive news now. And the McLaren personnel who was tested positive ahead of the Australian Grand Prix is now in Melbourne and is making a safe and full recovery back to normal health. Now, of course, McLaren pulled out of the Australian Grand Prix on Thursday after the news of the team personnel testing positive for COVID-19. Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz did not race, and of course Zak Brown told the whole team in Melbourne that they were not going to be participating in the event because of the news. The McLaren team member is now making a good recovery. As tests have shown, he has now cleared the COVID-19 virus and is making a full recovery to hopefully get back to ways with the team. So this is great news to hear our Formula One fans, of course. Health does come first, and of course the right decision was made to cancel the race for everybody's safety. McLaren withdrawn as well on the side of the team member is great to see. The camaraderie and as well being employees as well is great to see. They have put human touch and they have put everyone's safety ahead of Formula One and their commercial rights. It is really good to see and just shows that there is some passion in Formula One between teams. Also, McLaren did receive some acknowledgement from other teams, including Mercedes, Red Bull, and AlphaTauri, who offered their support in this situation. But everything is sounding pretty good. As I say, that guy is making a good recovery. McLaren team personnel are staying safe, and of course, alongside the news of Ferrari and Maranello, we hope that everyone stays safe in Italy and all across the Formula One board. We want to get back to racing as soon as possible, but of course, safety does come first. We hope that everyone stays safe in our community, and we hope we can get back to racing very, very soon. One final thing from us, and of course from the F1 debate show, we would like to hope that everyone stays safe, fit and healthy out there, and we hope that we can get back to watching Formula One very, very soon. So we hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for listening today. Of course, the coronavirus is one of the biggest topics, not just in Formula One, not just in sport, but in world politics at the moment. We hope that everything can be resolved in the next few months, and we hope that not just Formula One, but all sports can get back to normal, and indeed, just everything can get back to normal. It is a hard, turbulent time we're living in at the moment, but by putting safety and personal health in front of everything, it should be getting solved in the next few months. We all hope to see Formula One back very, very soon. Thank you very much for listening to this episode, guys. Let me know what you think about everything I've mentioned in the description box below. When do you think we'll be getting back to Formula One racing? Will it be Zandvoort, or will it be Baku, or the races in between? And just let us know that you're safe. Thank you for listening, and until next time, we'll see you later.